How high is space? When you gaze up at the night sky, what do you see? A vast expanse of space, shimmering and radiant. From an astronomical perspective, space is surprisingly close, just beyond the delicate veil of our atmosphere. In fact, Earth is merely a small island floating in a boundless ocean of space that surrounds us. So, what exactly defines the boundary of space? It is generally considered to be the point where the Earth's atmosphere ends and the vacuum of space begins. But how high do you need to ascend to reach this threshold? This question often leads to differing opinions on where space truly starts. The National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics, which later became NASA, was the first to establish an official definition of space. They determined that space begins at an altitude where atmospheric pressure drops below 1 pound per square foot, roughly 24.5 kilometers above sea level. Astronauts and NASA test pilots who reach this height are awarded astronaut wings. Following this, aerospace engineer Theodore von Karman calculated that at an altitude of 100 kilometers, the atmosphere becomes so thin that an aircraft would need to achieve orbital speed to generate lift. This altitude is now recognized as the Karman line by the World Air Sports Federation, Fédération Aéronautique Internationale (FAI). Space is also often defined as starting at around 160 kilometers, which is the minimum altitude where satellites can maintain stable orbits. These definitions can become complex when we consider what we mean by atmosphere. Layers of Earth's atmosphere. The atmosphere surrounding our planet consists of 5 primary layers: the troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere, and exosphere. The thermosphere stretches from about 80 kilometers to the thermopause, which lies between 500 and 1,000 kilometers. Within this layer is the ionosphere, where solar radiation ionizes particles, creating stunning displays like the aurora borealis and aurora australis. The International Space Station orbits within this region at altitudes between 320 and 380 kilometers, requiring regular boosts to counteract atmospheric drag. The outermost layer, known as the exosphere, extends up to 10,000 kilometers above Earth. This region is characterized by extremely low densities of hydrogen, helium, and other heavier molecules. The particles here are so sparse that the exosphere behaves differently from a gas, with atoms frequently escaping into the void of space. Interplanetary and interstellar distinctions. It's also essential to differentiate between interplanetary space, which exists between planets, and interstellar space, the expanse between star systems. Additionally, there is intergalactic space, found between galaxies. All these regions have significantly lower matter concentrations compared to areas occupied by celestial bodies. Some scientists theorize that space is infinite in all directions, while others argue that it is finite yet unbounded, meaning it has no definitive beginning or end. The journey of exploration. The serious exploration of space kicked off with the advent of the space age, marked by the launch of Sputnik 1 by the Soviet Union on October 4, 1957, the first artificial satellite to orbit Earth. This event prompted President Dwight D. Eisenhower to sign the National Aeronautics and Space Act on July 29, 1958, leading to the establishment of NASA. Both NASA and the Soviet space program began developing crewed spacecraft, achieving significant milestones such as Yuri Gagarin's historic flight on April 12, 1961, making him the first human in space, followed by Valentina Tereshkova, the first woman in space, on June 16, 1963. During this period, NASA's Project Mercury and the Soviet Vostok program played crucial roles. The focus later shifted towards creating a permanent human presence in space, resulting in the development of space stations like Skylab and Mir. By 1993, NASA had begun collaborating with the Russian Space Agency, the European Space Agency, ESA, and the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, JAXA, to construct the International Space Station, ISS. The ISS has been continuously inhabited for over 15 years and has welcomed astronauts from 15 different countries. In conclusion, the question of where our atmosphere ends and space begins remains a topic of discussion. However, if you manage to ascend beyond 100 kilometers, you can proudly claim your astronaut wings.